So today we're going to talk a little bit about high blood pressure. One of the things that irks me in what's happening today is how many people at a very young age are being put on high blood pressure medication, and it's completely unnecessary. And when I go back, I'm just thinking about a specific person that I heard of today. They're never even asked about extraneous things that are going on in their life, i.e. stress, or what their exercise and nutrition looks like, which is preposterous. In the end, remember, doctors in the medical industrial complex want to put you on medication, and then another one, because that keeps their stocks going up, because they are now building a business, and the goal of a business is to continue to grow. So I'm going to share with you today a few ideas on what could be at the root cause of your blood pressure and what strategies you can use to help you. Now, I'm talking about a specific instance in what we call apparently healthy. When someone walks into a gym or a facility and they're at a good body weight and they have a good general fitness, we say they are apparently healthy. However, I have to ask more questions and get to the root issue and to really find out if they actually are healthy. And so you can be thin, you can actually be lean, have generally good fitness level, strength, muscular endurance, balance, and still have high blood pressure. And so it's very important that you dig a little deeper with your own health and figure out what things are going on. So the first things first, if you're significantly overweight, you're doing excessive, consuming poor foods, intaking too many drugs, you're going to start to put your body out of whack, and it's going to respond. I'm talking in an instance where you perceive yourself like, man, I'm healthy. I take care of myself. I do these things a couple times a week. I do these things. I generally fairly well. This is the riddle that I think a lot of people fall into. They're like, well, I guess that's it. And then the doctor will say, well, does it run in your family? And as soon as you say yes, it's like, we're going here. And let me pull that apart a little bit. So the first thing you need to do is cut out all processed foods, especially seed oils. And so what this sets you up is like, go through your pantry, figure out what's fake, what's real. Start eating a whole foods diet, and then cut out seed oils. Now, that's as easy as going through your pantry and like start preparing with avocado oil, use the bacon fat, use the leftover beef fat, the tallow to prepare your food, and make sure that's all organic and sourced. However, one of the big pitfalls that a lot of people fall into is that they want to go enjoy themselves and they'll go out to eat. Now, unless the restaurant is specifically saying that they know to use seed oils, they're going to use them because they're cheaper. And that creates an inflammatory response in the food. So the whole idea and concept is like, clean up your diet and cut out anything that's going to create inflammation, right? So if I squeeze on my arm here or go do deadlifts, I am increasing the pressure in my blood vessels. Well, you can do that from the inside out by intaking the wrong things. One other thing that's really, really important is sort of that stress management element. And so you want to evaluate deeply what your potential internal conflicts are. Now, this can be the tricky part, because at the point where I started to feel my blood pressure go up, not only was I trying to achieve great loads, like I really had it in my mind, I wanted to deadlift 500 pounds. And so I was pushing my body weight up and up. To takes weight to push weight, or in this case, to pull weight. And I started to actually see my blood pressure come up, but it was also at a time where I had 3 kids at home, wasn't getting very good sleep. And if you had asked me at that moment, and I was running a business, if you had asked me at that moment, was I stressed? I would have said no. But from the outside, someone could have easily said, are you nuts? You don't get good quality sleep. You're training like a beast, and you're at your business for like 12 hours. Those things alone, even though I was eating what I felt was right at the time, were going to have a reaction. Validating your internal conflict is a critical component. Use an external source if you need to, like, hey, do I seem kind of stressed for you? And in which case, even some of your closest friends will be like, nah, because they're in the same boat. And so this leads me to my next element. If you not sure if you have significant internal conflict or are stressed or have a stressful situation, that's where you start integrating levels of mindfulness. Now, a mindfulness plan should be technically weaved with a health and wellness program. But most people just think, well, I go to the gym, I eat right, I go do activities, I have a sport, I'm taking care of myself. However, they don't realize that the vast majority of what's going on in our brain is happening on the subconscious. And that could be rooted from a very young age. And so you can perceive not stress, But because you're chronically stressed, you don't know what it is like to be relaxed. This is why when people take trips, they kind of fall apart. They're like, oh my gosh, you go 4 or 5 days and all of a sudden it hits you. I remember taking my first 2-week vacation in Hawaii and I was like, oh wow, this is what it feels like to relax. But when I went a week, I always told Robin, like, God, it takes me like 5 or 6 days before I relax. And that is what I'm talking about. So mindfulness can be everything from meditation, time in nature, breath work, qigong, tai chi, all sorts of practices, including journaling, which I have my clients do to help them weave in that reset, right? We have a fight or flight response in this parasympathetic, and we have that rest or restore, the parasympathetic. Most people are living completely in fight or flight, and they don't even know it. And then little by little, it starts to wear on the body, and eventually a lot of things can happen, one of which is your blood pressure can go up. So learn to shift yourself into rest and restore. As a matter of fact, a lot of people I will see in the morning after a night's sleep, and they will get more relaxed after a meditation and more restored after that 20-30 minute meditation than they did from 8 hours of laying in bed. Why is that? Because the subconscious mind is not letting them rest or restore while they sleep because they're in that high fight or flight response. Okay, so those are a couple ideas. The last one I want to talk about is dismantling your belief system. Now, this is a big one because personally, high blood pressure runs in my family amongst many other things. And I felt cursed, like it was going to happen to me for a very long time. So much so that when I got into a doctor's office and they would take my blood pressure would be high because I'd be so nervous. Eventually, I started saying, well, I'm going to get my own cuff and just test it home and go, oh, it's not up. I'm just worried about that. Now, like I said before, I did have some issues when I started to drive my body weight up and up. There are threshold points for individual, regardless of muscle mass or fat weight. At that point, I did have a little bit more body fat because I was trying to increase my pulling capability. But in general, I was still running and doing all my activities. So someone would have perceived me like, you're healthy. However, my body has a set limit, and everyone's set limit is completely different. Everyone's set limit for what they can tolerate for stress is completely different as well. So dismantling also that familial connection is absolutely critical. Do not feel that you are destined to have like cancer because it runs in your family. As a matter of fact, it's very important that you realize that you were created absolutely perfectly the way you are, and you just have to honor your body and keep sending the right messages. Because if you keep sending the next message, a poor message to that body, or you start worrying about that consistently, ruminating over worrying about that, that message is being transferred, and those negative emotions of worry are being transferred from your hypothalamus through your vagus nerve directly into your organ systems. And that will have a negative impact on your body, namely your blood pressure as well, if you're constantly worried about it. So hopefully I gave you a few ideas on what you can use and practice to start integrating it. If you need help, reach out. This is what I do. I set up programs to get the results you want from a physical mindfulness standpoint, from a physical standpoint, hit the goals you want, have the physique you want, but also managing emotion and bringing mind and body together so that you can feel amazing.